to call this Committee on Housing and Homelessness Prevention to order. I will let the committee know when we have a quorum. I see Senator Abler walking in the door right now, so we have a quorum. We have two bills today, and then the agency back to finish their presentation from last week. We will start today with Senate File 830, Community Mediation. Senator Boldon, you can go ahead and present whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am pleased to be before you with this bill around community mediation. I will note when it was introduced as community meditation. We are not talking about meditation today. It is mediation. So this bill would appropriate $4.4 million in fiscal year 26-27 to the Community Mediation Minnesota to administer their statewide housing mediation program. This is a program that would provide support for renters and landlords, including dispute resolution services, eviction prevention, and navigation. Community Mediation Minnesota will have some testifiers to talk more about their excellent work, but they're an umbrella network of 7 certified nonprofit mediation providers that provide that conflict resolution services and training statewide. They also partner with the Center for Multicultural Mediation and the Hmong American Mediation Center for many of their culturally specific services. And I want to just emphasize the importance and benefit of mediation services. It really has positive effects, including offering an effective alternative to the court process for landlords and renters. Upwards of 90% of cases are able to be worked out through mediation versus having to go through a court process. That benefits landlords and renters. It will help to keep people in their homes. When those disputes can be worked out, it decreases evictions, and avoiding evictions is in everyone's best interest. And then it will reduce the burden on our eviction courts. So that can be a lengthy process that is a overburdened system at times. And so again, when we can have these disputes come to an agreement outside of the court process, it benefits everyone. And so really looking at how to expand these services across the state to make them more accessible to all really is the goal. And so with that, Madam Chair, would extend time to our testifiers.
Thank you very much, Senator Boldon. On the testifier list first, I have Katie Arnold, and then Beth Bailey after that. Welcome to the committee. If you want to introduce yourself for the record, and you can present your testimony, and if we can try to keep testimony to around 2 to 3 minutes, please. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Port and Senator Boldon and committee. My name is Katie Arnold, and I'm the co-executive director of Community Mediation Minnesota. I'm here with my colleagues, Beth Bailey, who's the executive director of Community and Mediation Restorative Services, and also the treasurer of Community Mediation Minnesota, and Jen Frisbee, who will take my place here in a few minutes, who's the Director of Operations and Programs at Community Mediation Minnesota. Community Mediation Minnesota, or CMM as we're also known, is the umbrella organization of Minnesota's 7 state certified community dispute resolution programs, for short, CDRPs. CMM is deeply integrated in many of Minnesota's counties, court systems, schools, and communities. Our mission is to be a collaborative hub that amplifies access to and the impact of community-based mediation and restorative services throughout the state. Statewide, CMM is an important resource in the housing ecosystem. We provide a variety of housing mediation services along the conflict continuum. We are many times at court ready to help people at an eviction hearing, but we work really hard to be upstream as well and intervene prior to any court involvement. It's important to note that with our court systems being so overburdened, our court-ordered evictions are costly, and they're costly to all kinds of people, right? They're costly to the parties, the renter who loses their home, the property owner who locks in a financial loss by losing their renters, to the community that feels the impact of housing instability, and to the taxpayers who fund a very expensive method of the eviction process. Of course, we're not advocating to eliminate the tool of eviction, but rather we want to continue to work collaboratively, providing a process to property owners and property renters that allows for win-win outcomes. So what we know is we need to continue providing win-win housing solutions that work for both rental providers and renters. That communication and effective conversations are crucial. Good conversations can be constructive and model future behavior. Bad conversations can really be hard to recover from, and mediators can help with this. The funding would support us in continuing our services, our current services, and in our efforts to successfully reach Minnesotans in all 87 counties. Fortunately, CMM has the infrastructure for our CDRPs to work with communities throughout the state. At this time, CMM's CDRPs have reached 77 of our 87 Minnesota counties. That said, we would really like the opportunity to meet all the mediation needs in every county and in every zip code. To reach and effectively serve, we need to build our capacity. We seek funding to further train Minnesotans, promote the practice of, and cultivate the use of mediation practices throughout. CMM is dedicated to promoting accessible conflict resolution services, and our approach focuses on building bridges through cultural competency, language accessibility, and accommodations for individuals with disabilities. By training mediators from within the communities we serve whenever possible, we create more responsive services. Additionally, we train volunteers from communities to serve as mediation representatives, ensuring our services are effectively represented by individuals from the communities that we support. Our 7 CDRP collaborative organizations actively seek feedback, which in turn informs our collective planning for programs, data collection, and management. Specifically, this grant funding will enable us to share successful and unsuccessful strategies, leverage CMM statewide partnerships and outreach, coordinate capacity building and mediator training, aggregate data through a statewide database, and amplify the efficiency and of integration of housing mediation services further into every one of Minnesota's counties in the resource ecosystem. Furthermore, we need this bill to have uninterrupted services to continue responding in a competent manner to systemic challenges of housing. We need this bill to continue effectively serving our communities. Local communities drive what our services look like, and they are locally designed and locally responsive. We have a lack of services provided in much of the western part of the state, and with this establishment of money, we will be able to hopefully open 2 strategically placed new CDRPs in the western side of the state. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague Beth Bailey.
Welcome to the committee, Ms. Bailey. If you can introduce yourself for the record and then present your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Port and Senator Boldon and committee members. I appreciate this opportunity to testify. I'm Beth Bailey, the Executive Director of Community Mediation and Restorative Services and a founding board member of the Statewide Community Mediation Minnesota. I'd like to begin by sharing 31 years ago on a cold February day, much like this, I was a new volunteer mediator dispatched to Hennepin County's Housing Court, where our mediators were piloting a new program of offering on-the-spot mediations in the hallway behind the courtroom. It was a life-changing day for me. I remember so much of that day. I remember being shocked by the end of the day and got into the elevator, breathed, and looked at the stranger in the elevator and said, I didn't know this happened in America. I was also hooked. On that day, I watched as 8 property providers and renters worked out an agreement that worked for them. The court didn't have the authority to order those win-win solutions, but the court is able to accept a mediated agreement worked out by the parties in the hallway of the court. I was hooked. I went home. I made arrangements to take an unpaid day of vacation every month from work so that I could volunteer 1 day a week in housing court as a mediator. I'm still hooked. I'm even more hooked 31 years later on the use of mediation in this housing space. It's a solution that is multi-partial. In our 40,000 experiences of offering landlord-tenant mediation, housing mediation, we have a unique collective wisdom of what's going on out there. And I would share with you that we have cost-burdened households and we have mortgage-burdened providers. And this is one investment that you can make that would is helpful for both sides of that equation. Given the opportunity, given constructive conversation, given the opportunity to access resources prior to those conversations, people are able to work out agreements. Without being able to work out those agreements, the renters lose housing and our providers lock in financial losses. So housing mediation becomes a win-win in an area where there are fewer and fewer win-wins. I recognize this is a difficult time to be asking for you to shift something into base funding. We get it. We're reading the same things that you're reading. And understand that you're faced with some really difficult decisions this year, and recognizing the fundamental statewide need to help keep Minnesotans housed. I'd like to introduce this concept of the last mile in infrastructure projects. The last mile, let's say you're delivering water. You build this entire system and the last mile is connecting it from the street to the driveway. I honestly believe that the last mile in housing is constructive conversation. You can have a revolving door on affordable housing unless we have ways of bringing people together into constructive conversation. Housing mediation is the last mile in the housing ecosystem. Then Katie mentioned the need to scale these services for anybody across the state. I helped CMM administer the COVID Housing Assistance Program. In our first 2 weeks that we were open, we received requests from 77 counties. It looks different in different parts of the state, but the need for stable rental housing exists across our state of Minnesota. There are very few housing resources that are statewide. CMM is one of the first few partners that you have for a statewide program. Housing resources tend to be very local, and there is a need for statewide resources in this space. And then why specifically Community Mediation Minnesota? Partnering with CMM allows you to tap into a system that's already designed for accountability. There's a certification process to become a community dispute resolution program. We go through recertification every 2 years. There's quality control, financial management that's already built into the organizations that are part of the umbrella of CMM. So you tap into that. You tap into organizations that have been doing this work locally for 40 years and now have the great financial management and accountability of our statewide organization, Community Mediation Minnesota. And that, with that, I'll segue to Jennifer Frisbee, who's the Director of Operations and Programs. Jen, can I give you my seat?
Ms. Frisbee, please make your way to the table and introduce yourself for the record and present your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairport. My name is Jennifer Frisbee. I'm the Director of Operations and Programs for Community Mediation Minnesota. Chairport, in early 2023, you and I met and we discussed scaling our services in Dakota County, at which point we hadn't had services in your constituency. I am excited to say that as of August 2023, we had already met with stakeholders in your district and began providing services. In the first year alone, we provided services to 800 individuals in your community. So I state that because we are committed partners and we are here to help you all solve problems in all of your constituencies. Also during that time, we were very fortunate to have partnered with Minnesota Housing on a program called Rent Help Him In Targeted Assistance. It was a rental assistance program that was designed to reach the most vulnerable, at-risk households for eviction in Minnesota. During Rent Help MN Targeted Assistance, we were able to send referrals directly to Minnesota Housing for rental assistance. By pairing mediation and rental assistance together, we established what we did in Minnesota was establish a national best practice model, and we brought that here to Minnesota, and it was extremely successful. At CMM, we got our mediation participants, both the renters and the rental property providers, connected to $14.14 million in rental assistance in just one year, so 12 months. And most of that funding went to become a part of a settlement agreement. So it actually avoided the eviction being filed in court, or it avoided the eviction and writ of recovery after the court proceeding happened. So like we say, it's a win-win. Rental property providers were paid their back rent, and renters remained housed. In fact, with mediation, settlement agreements that prevent an eviction are reached in approximately 90% of all cases. It's a very high success rate. And the best news is that we have designed this type of intervention to be scalable. In fact, CMM and our network of state-certified community dispute resolution programs are the sole source in the state of Minnesota for this type of service. As many of you know, housing resources are often concentrated in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. At CMM, our mission is to make our services available to all Minnesotans. In the past year, we were able to add one additional state-certified community dispute resolution program. It was the first of its kind in 10 years. And by having base funding, we can continue this critical expansion. In addition, we can make effective the new 14-day notice requirement for non-payment of rent matters throughout the state, allowing rental property providers the opportunity to resolve the matter prior to an eviction filing and during that waiting period. So rental property providers will have an option during that 14-day window period to resolve the matter, potentially even avoiding the filing cost. Besides the savings that has for rental property providers, it's also a saving to our community and the cost of the negative impact of evictions and homelessness. What we offer is a win-win solution on a myriad of levels, and we are here to be your partners to better serve all Minnesotans. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much to the testifiers. Senator Boldon, do you want to say anything else before we go to questions? Members, discussion. Senator Pa.
Thank you, Chair Port. So first, I just want to say 90% is absolutely incredible. And I'm definitely an advocate for dispute and conflict resolution through mediation. So this, I absolutely support this bill, and thank you, Senator Boldon, for bringing it forward. One question is, I'm wondering how many sessions typically is required when a mediation happens before a resolution usually comes about. Just curious, and how many hours do you think that might take?
Ms. Arnold?
Thank you. That's a very good question, Senator. Chair Port and committee and Senator Fa, it depends on the setting, but typically if you don't get it upstream, if you don't get the case upstream, but we end up in court, you usually are doing it there then, in court, and it will take maybe 45 minutes. A lot of times these conversations that happen, the eviction process is kind of a starting conversation to get everybody in the same room. People want to have these kinds of conversations, and so typically we're able to handle it there in court that day. Especially in outstate where there are more localized landlords it's very important for them to attain the payment for rent so that they can pay their mortgage. a lot of times there's been some sort of miscommunication or something that has happened, and they're very willing and excited to mediate. And I think it fosters a very good model for communication in how they move forward in the future.
Follow-up, Senator Pa?
Thank you. Yeah, one more question. I'm wondering if you've ever had experiences where you've mediated with two parties, and they come back to you maybe a couple of months later or a year later because maybe that first agreement, there's terms that have changed or situations that have changed and you have to remediate. Has that ever been the case?
Ms. Arnold?
Thank you, Chair Port and Senator Pog. Yes. In fact, the system is so beneficial that a lot of people will say, I'd like to try mediation first. And in different stipulations that happen in different documents, there are many times, even in conciliation court and different court settings, that we will say, hey, if you want to change something, let's come back to mediation first. So it really, really helps the court system a lot as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Port.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Senator Lucero.
Not a question, Madam Chair, but I just wanted to thank Ms. Arnold for the conversations we had. Thank you, Representative Senator Boldon, for this bill. And I appreciated the conversations that we had 3 times, 2 times, 3 times.
Yes.
But anyway, definitely appreciate the proactiveness and this conversation on this topic. It's an important one. And I look forward to the continued conversation. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lucero. Seeing no further discussion, thank you for being here. I really appreciate the work that you guys do. Like Senator Pa, I share my, I'm just astounded by the 90% number and think about the good that that can do to keep people housed and keep providers able to continue to have the ability to pay their mortgages as well. So with that, Senate File 830 is laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Members, we will move on to our second bill today, which is Senate File 672, the Tenant hotline from Senator Mohamed. Senator Mohamed, welcome to the testifiers table. We have Senate File 672 in front of us, and I believe you have an author's amendment.
I do, Madam Chair. Yep, I'd like to start by offering Amendment A1.
Senator Mohamed offers the author's amendment A1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The amendment is adopted. Senator Mohamed, would you like to go ahead and present Senate File 672 as amended?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is Senate File 672, an appropriation through the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency for a statewide tenant education and hotline service. Almost everyone here knows someone struggling with a rental dispute. Just 2 days ago, while getting my eyebrows done, yes, they look nice, my brow lady told me her landlord entered her apartment for an inspection without any prior notice. Yet, despite her repeated requests over the past 2 months to fix her broken laundry machine, nothing had been done. The landlord came and left without addressing the issue. Sadly, stories like this are very common. My office regularly receives calls from constituents facing similar hardships. For example, a single mother of 3 reached out after a landlord refused to renew her lease, giving her only 20 days notice and withheld her damaged deposit without an explanation. She and her children now face homelessness. A family of 4 lost their Section 8 assistance without warning, unable to reach anyone in the program. They face eviction. A tenant in a 40-unit building received an eviction notice despite having paid rent. The property management company is unresponsive. A single mother of 2 was evicted after her property management company miscalculated payments despite her having overpaid $300. These are just few examples of the cases brought to my office. Homeline and legal aid provide crucial support, but with so many disputes, people still fall short through the cracks. Minnesota tenants deserve inaccessible information about their legal protections and how they can enforce them. A widely advertised, fully resourced, and responsive statewide tenant education and hotline service that provides free and confidential legal advice regardless of income is necessary to make that possible. And I have a few testifiers with me, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Senator Mohamed. On the list first, I have Eric Hauge. Please introduce yourself for the record and present your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Port and members of the committee. My name is Eric Hauge, Executive Director of Homeline. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I do have just a one page on here. I'm not sure if it's working, but if you can pop that over, I'd appreciate it a little bit later. Before my testimony, I actually just want to quickly note about my first day at work at Homeline. It was in 2003. I attended a tenant association meeting at a senior complex called Franklin Lane Apartments on Ferry Street in Anoka, where at the time House Member Abler was also in attendance, supporting his constituents in their efforts to keep their home decent, safe, and affordable. So I just want to say kudos to Senator Abler. Thanks for supporting the rights of low-income renters throughout your tenure. Thank you. Homeline is a statewide tenant advocacy organization that provides legal advice, education, and organizing services to renters across the state. Our primary program is a free and confidential tenant hotline that any renter in Minnesota can contact via phone or email, and we advise them about their rights and responsibilities, including any specific rental housing disputes they experience. Our legal staff speak English, Spanish, Somali, and Hmong languages, and our services are designed to provide renters with the tools, resources, and knowledge to enforce their rights themselves. The vast majority of tenant-landlord disputes can and should be solved outside of court. But we also support tenants with practical advice about what to expect if they're headed to court. And my colleague Michael will have a story from our client in just a moment about that. As I previously mentioned in my testimony to this committee, approximately 30% of Minnesota's households live in rental housing. That's approximately 650,000 households that rely on a complicated framework of federal laws and regulations, state statutes, case law, local codes and ordinances, and lease provisions to ensure their homes are well-maintained, healthy, safe, and that they are protected against invasions of privacy, displacement, and other harmful conflicts related to the disrepair or mismanagement of their homes. Again, on your screen is our summary statistics for statewide services provided in 2024. The past several years have been the busiest in the 33-year history of our organization. We've averaged around 20,000 households advised per year since 2022. Last year, as you can see, we advised around 19,932 renters from all 87 counties in the state, and we advised them on topics listed on the right there, a variety of topics. Really, anything related to rental housing we'll advise on. We also help prevent thousands of evictions and help tenants save $1.8 million in return deposits, rent abatement, and other fees and charges. Sometimes we're not always giving people good news. Sometimes we're explaining how a client has violated the law and what is the best way to remedy that in a way that can hopefully stabilize their housing. We also provide a range of other freely accessible services. We have an eviction prevention project that involves sending a multilingual letter to every eviction defendant in the state about their situation. In just the last 2 years, we've sent multilingual letters to over 47,000 households facing imminent eviction action. We do public education. Everyone benefits when they know the rules, and that's the purpose of our public education programs. Common audiences for our tenant landlord trainings, which over the past 2 years, we've done over 200 to over 7,800 attendees. Common audiences include tenants, landlords, property managers, attorneys, court staff, city inspectors, social workers, service providers, police departments, high school and college students. We're contracted by the Department of Revenue to advise folks and inform them about the changes to the Minnesota Renters Credit that are happening this year and last, as well as the Minnesota Department of Corrections to educate soon-to-be released and recently released corrections-involved individuals so that they can secure housing upon their release. Our programs are relied upon throughout Minnesota. Multiple levels of government, including the Governor's Office, the Office of the Attorney General, Minnesota Housing, many counties and cities include our multilingual information in public communications as a place where tenants can get key legal advice quickly. And these referral sources have driven increased client volume during and post-pandemic. When the Minnesota Legislature and Minnesota Housing first initiated a contract with our organization in 2013, we served around 12,000 households. Our new client volume has nearly doubled since then, and we've expanded the scope of the other programs I've mentioned. Again, trainings, eviction, prevention, and organizing. That's what I did when I started at Homeline. Our state contract has not changed much since 2013, but inflation and call volume have. It's become increasingly challenging to maintain response time that clients expect, especially folks that are experiencing a housing crisis when time is essential. Increased resources are needed to respond to this demand. I just checked our queues before I stepped up for testimony. There are several hundred, we had a long holiday weekend, there are several hundred households waiting to hear back from our legal staff today. Our programs are a low-cost resource that prevent homelessness and ensure all rental housing stakeholders are aware and understand their rights and responsibilities within the scope of federal, state, and local laws and regulations. With the passage of this bill, and if Homeline was selected as the grantee, it would ensure our programs expand sustainably to accommodate the growth of renter household clients in need of advice and support. So from our perspective, and based on what we hear from our clients, a properly funded, thriving tenant education and hotline service will do the following. It will provide wages and benefits that are competitive in the legal and housing field so that we can retain experienced staff and recruit similarly to other peer service, legal service organizations. Our pay structure is far behind others in our field. It will ensure the capacity and scope of our legal staff is adequate to tackle trends in the market. It'll allow the expansion of trainings to more audiences, especially free trainings to those who have lower incomes and those who interact with renters daily. It will allow us to proactively advertise services throughout the state through multiple venues. Currently, we really do not actively advertise our services other than referrals from many partners and word of mouth, but we're still well beyond capacity. It would also expand the scope and strategies involved with our eviction prevention project. I want to thank you for your time and the opportunity to testify about Homeline's programs. I'll be available for questions, and Michael is going to share a bit from one of our clients.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Dahl, if you'd please introduce yourself for the record and present the testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Michael Dahl. I'm the Public Policy Director with Homeline, and I'm reading a letter that was just sent to us this morning, and I'll start. Dear Senator Lindsay Port, I'm writing today to express my heartfelt support for Senate File 672 as an active voter and renter here in Minnesota. Recently, I found myself in a very unfortunate situation where the heat in my unit was extremely inadequate. After 3 months of back and forth with my property manager, the unit was still in occasional sub-60 degrees temperature with no end in sight. I had never encouraged something like this before, where I had to advocate for myself so strongly using the law. Feeling completely overwhelmed and out of depth, I was so relieved when I came across Homeline. The difference after connecting with an attorney at Homeline was like night and day. Before I was stuck in an endless loop of not knowing how to put my foot down, and now I suddenly had bylaws and to quote and rights that I didn't even know to enact. With Homeline's help to navigate me, I was able to put my rent in escrow, and when the case ended up making its way to actual hearing, prepared me to thoroughly represent myself to the best of my ability. I was able to get a favorable court order and repairs and a rent abatement. I'm more than happy to report that my apartment is finally nice and warm. This absolutely would not have been possible without Homeline to guide me through the Minnesota court system and the laws I needed to protect my rights as tenants, which is why I'm giving my full support for Senate File 672. It's an absolute and valuable resource for tenants across Minnesota, and I hope that you will vote today vote today in favor of Senate File 672, allowing Homeline to help even more people stay warm during the winter months like me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dahl. We have one more testifier, Nicole Weiler. Welcome to the committee. If you'd please introduce yourself for the record and present your testimony.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Port, Senator Mohamed, and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Weiler, and I'm the Senior Program Manager for United Way's 211 helpline at Greater Twin Cities United Way. I'm really honored to be here to speak in support of increased funding for a statewide tenant hotline. United Way 211 is an important resource for Minnesotans navigating social services, and we answer hundreds of thousands of calls each year, and more than half of our statewide call volume relates to housing, utility, and rental concerns. Homeline, the existing statewide tenant hotline, is one of our highly referred services. Just last year, we sent 2,221 calls over to them, which is just roughly 10% of their increasing direct call volume. Over the last 2 years, 211 has also seen a 63% increase in referrals to Homeline. And this hotline provides essential legal guidance for tenants facing eviction threats, lease disputes, and habitability concerns. They help renters remain stably housed, and Homeline provides essential legal guidance and advocacy to renters who often lack the financial means to secure private legal counsel. Without increased statewide funding, thousands of renters, many of whom are low income, elderly, or from historically excluded communities, would be left without the crucial support they need to maintain stable housing. Investing in holistic eviction prevention is cost effective. Additional funding for a statewide tenant hotline strengthens upstream housing stability efforts across Minnesota, alleviates strain on state resources, and promotes economic security for your constituents. So I would urge the Senate to support this important service. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weiler. Members, let's move to discussion. Any questions for Senator Mohamed or the testifiers? Thank you very much for bringing this bill forward, Senator Mohamed, and for the work that you all do on the hotline. This bill will be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, members, we will move now to the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. Commissioner Ho is back with us today to complete the rest of the presentation that they had with us a few weeks back and to present the overview of the annual report that was released over the weekend. Commissioner Ho, welcome back to the committee. Mr. Kitzberger, welcome back. Please, when you're ready, introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Chair Port and members of the committee, I'm Jennifer Ho. I'm the Commissioner at Minnesota Housing. Great to be back with you today. Here with Dan Kitzberger, as you noticed, my legislative director, and Amanda Welliver on the wings. I came prepared today with three things: a focus on federal programs and what we know and what we don't know, and then the reports, but also in between a progress report because we've had some things move since we were with you last time. So happy to stop for questions wherever you want, given that they're very disparate topics.
That sounds great. Members, if you have questions, raise your hand and we'll get you on and get you in at a good break time. Commissioner, go ahead.
So I wanted to start with this bar chart to give you a sense of where the agency's economic activity is over the course of a year, and to separate out the state appropriated funds from all sources of funding so that you kind of understand how our relationship with you interplays with the relationship that we have with the private markets and the federal government. As you can see from the top 2 bars, a significant portion of what we do is home buyer and home refinance, the largest portion by far, and our administration of HUD rental assistance through a contract with HUD. And so the largest lines of money that we move are largely federal funds with some state assist in the home buyer and home refinance. And then if you see going down the line just how that plays out. So for 2024, appropriated resources from the Minnesota legislature made up about 15% of the agency activity. When you think about federal resources that flow through the state for housing, they flow from 3 federal agencies generally: HUD, the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Housing Department. What I wanted to do is just kind of give you a sense in these 2 columns, the program uses and who receives them, because the agency doesn't touch the vast majority of these funds. But I just wanted you to be aware of them. We're trying to get a comprehensive total of the HUD programs. I don't have that in hand, but the USDA rural development area invested about $143 million in housing initiatives in Minnesota in 2024. And that's both single-family loans as well as multifamily housing. But again, you have everything from public housing authorities, which are completely fueled by HUD funding, our homeless assistance network across the state that receive HUD homeless assistance grants and emergency solutions grants through the Department of Human Services, but lots of other ways in which we interact with some of these funds, even though we don't directly touch them. So if you take a look at the federal funds that flow directly to Minnesota housing, these are the specific line items, what they do, and their relative size. So from HUD, home is capital that helps us through our multifamily consolidated RFP. It helps us fund 1 or 2 more projects by bringing in the federal home dollars. National Housing Trust Fund, again, it's capital money. The amount varies because it's based on earnings from Fannie and Freddie. But it also helps with capital for very low-income households. And then we also administer, for now, the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, HOPWO funding. That amount has been decreasing as the feds have changed their formula on how funding works there. By far, the largest line item that we touch is that we're the administrator for 34,000 units of privately owned, HUD-assisted, project-based rental assistance. So we touch about $250 million a year in that program, and that basically pays the rent, minus the resident contribution for all of these households. And I just felt compelled to include the median household income because it's a mere $15,000 a year for people that live in HUD-financed, project-based Section 8. We also have rental vouchers through HUD's Section 811 Supportive Housing for Persons with Disabilities program. We're one of the largest administrators of that program nationally, and we most recently were awarded another contract for $7 million that would allow us to serve 300 households. The reason that I flagged that is that that's an award that doesn't have an executed contract on it, so it's something that we're flagging and keeping an eye on with the new administration. And then I think it's also important to note that our relationship with the U.S. Department of the Treasury is important, and this also plays into the tax bill discussions that are taking place in the Congress right now. Most importantly, our ability to allocate low-income housing tax credits. That's the largest source of federal capital for the creation and preservation of affordable rental housing. And then our ability to issue private activity bonds, including tax-exempt private activity bonds, which 8 years ago, when the tax bill was being debated in the Congress, actually disappeared. That ability disappeared from the bill in the final weeks of negotiation, and we were, not we single-handedly, but we, those of us who care about these things, were able to get it back in the final tax bill. So it's an area of sensitivity in the past. I guess what I would say that there are two things that I'm most concerned about right now. Home is a block grant, and block grants have historically been more vulnerable than some other programs. And so we're keeping a close eye on home, not only because it allows us to fund projects in the future, but we have developments that are in the pipeline that have commitments of home funding. So if the historic commitments of home funding where the money isn't in the ground yet, if that money went away, that would stall construction projects that we have previously committed to. And then, again, the Section 811, especially where we have a renewal due on our original contract and where we don't have a contract yet executed on our most recent award. I think what I'll just say is that, over 100,000 Minnesota households rely on federal assistance for being able to keep their home and make their home affordable. And whether it's the project-based Section 8 that we administer or the work that public housing authorities do, administering housing choice vouchers or built public housing units, the work that USDA does in their 515 properties, all of this is critical for making housing affordable to some of the most vulnerable and lowest income Minnesotans. So that's, I think, what I'll say there. And then just the latest updates. Secretary Turner was confirmed on February 5th. So has, been in that role now for, going on 2 weeks. I mentioned the, just the uncertainties, I guess. The other is that we've got a continuing resolution for the current fiscal year with Congress that expires on March 6th. And so whether or not we're able to resolve either with another continuing resolution or a final reconciliation of a budget package for this federal year is something that we're paying attention to. And then there's also just a lot of indicators that the administration is looking to dramatically reduce the HUD staff. So even if the programs are intact, the ability to have somebody to interact with at HUD in order to get contracts executed or to be able to have funds available for the programs in a reliable and predictable way. These are the types of things that I have on my radar in terms of some uncertainties. So that's what I had to offer on federal programs. Shall I pause to see if there's any questions here?
Please, I know I have a few. As I've been reading through the news, talking about various programs that are being cut or are likely to be cut, I've been hearing about the community development block grant disaster recovery, which has provided assistance and relief to multiple Minnesota counties. Do you have information or any understanding about if those cuts and how they would threaten farmers in our rural areas?
Chair Port, you stumped me on your first question, but we will go back and seek information on that. I'm looking to Dan to see if he's got a quick answer. No, we're going to have to go. I mean, my experience with CDBG-DR is that it's been very large infusions of money down into hurricane communities and other places. It's not something that's been big on my radar in my tenure here, but we'll go do our homework.
And my other question is, have you had specific pauses or delays or inability to access money that you should be able to access from the feds to this point?
Chairport, to the previous question, Dan reminds me that CDBG is all over at Deed. So if there's CDBG DR, it's probably over at Deed as well, but we'll reach out to Deed as well for you. We've had two interruptions. The first was in our ability with the initial pause in federal funding, where we didn't have access to the payment systems that we use for our HUD-funded programs. And I think that impacted us for 3 days. And then the following Monday was February 3rd, and that's the day that we would expect to be able to draw down the dollars that we use to pay rent on people's behalf for the HUD project-based contract. And we were pleased to see that we were able to access those funds. But then last Monday, we went in to draw down funds to pay for our administrative costs associated with that. And we routinely go in there and pull down about 1.1 million, and there was only 124,000 in the account that we went to tap. It's very unusual. We've administered these for a long period of time, and nobody remembered us going to do that routine draw and not having sufficient funds available. We've been reassured by HUD that it was a glitch and that they're fixing it and that we should have it fixed within 2 weeks. I will be very relieved when I get a report out from my staff that we've successfully been able to draw that money.
Commissioner, if you could also let us know if and when you're able to withdraw that money, and if after the 2 weeks you are still not able to withdraw it, if you could let the committee know. And can you just give me an idea of what does that mean if you can't withdraw that money?
Chairport, HUD pays us to do what they decided they couldn't do, which is to be the people who not only cut the check to these properties, but we also inspect and make sure that the properties are in a good state and that people are doing the paperwork right in terms of eligibility for people. And we're also a backstop for residents if there's a concern with property management in one of the properties. So I have over 30 staff who exclusively work on this contract. And we are a very high performer. HUD has performance indicators, and we knock it out of the park. I think the only time we didn't is when we suspended in-person inspections during early COVID. So we're considered a very strong performer in terms of the administration of this. But I can't fund a team of 30 people and all their activity without being able to draw on HUD funds in order to do this. So in the event that we didn't have access to those funds and didn't believe we were going to have access to those funds in the future, even though I can draw to pay the rent, if I can't draw to pay my staff, I think that we probably would have to have a serious conversation with HUD about our ability to continue to be the administrator.
And that's the program that houses 34,000?
It's 34,000 privately owned HUD-assisted units.
Okay, thank you. Senator Boldon, you had a question.
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. HUD recently announced that it has cut 50% of its workforce due to President Trump and Elon Musk's federal staffing purge. This includes workers in civil rights and fair housing enforcement, disaster relief, as was mentioned, and other housing services. I'm wondering, in your view, how heavily do you think that 50% cut in HUD staffing will affect their ability to administer funding to Minnesota and perform oversight over its programs? And additionally, how do you anticipate that'll affect, them being able to enforce discrimination laws? Will that loosen protections for seniors and individuals with disabilities and other vulnerable Minnesotans? How do you anticipate that 50% staffing cut playing out realistically?
Commissioner Ho?
Chairport, Senator Boldon, I worked at HUD in headquarters for 4 years, from 2013 through January 2017, and had an opportunity to interact with HUD staff all around the country. When I was there, HUD was working on improving its hiring processes, something that's kind of notoriously difficult to do. And we made substantial gains on that, which allowed us to net 1,000 new approved employees in the HUD workforce. I mean, I can tell you that the frontline staff that actually do things like write RFPs and score RFPs and collect data and make funds available and run the IT systems and work on fair housing, calculate and publish the area median incomes. I mean, there are lots of staff that do very granular things that are important to the flow of funds, but also influence housing policy and fair housing law enforcement. I don't have any visibility into what the actual reductions in the workforce have been or will be, but I do know that we reached out to talk to the person who's been the administrator of our Section 811 contract, and we got a bounce back email saying she was no longer employed at HUD. And so now we're on a scavenger hunt to find who the person might be that's administering the rental assistance that we do today for people with disabilities that live in integrated settings in our affordable housing developments. And as I mentioned before, we have a contract that needs to be renewed, and we have a new contract that needs to be executed. Those take people. And it's not just a secretary's signature. It's the staff who manage the compliance and the relationships. It's the accounting staff. It's the lawyers that are all involved in the execution of that contract that helps us make housing affordable to people with disabilities. I mean, I think the same is true with our home program. You know, HUD recently published an updated rule that administers the home program that we were really excited about as an industry because it reflected a lot of the things that we had advocated for. It's now been pulled down. But for HUD to be able to make improvements in regulatory processes, it requires dozens of people to be working on it. The federal rulemaking process is very specific in terms of what's required to be done. Every single comment to a proposed rule needs to actually be read and contemplated in the HUD rulemaking process. So without frontline staff, you would see, what is already, a four-year process, either be elongated or not happen at all. And, if we're talking about the need for regulatory relief, then things like the improvement to the home rule that were published and now retracted, it's really important that those conversations continue to happen to make these programs work better. I think we don't touch the homeless assistance grants, but as you know, I've worked in the homelessness space for over 25 years now. And the HUD Continuum of Care homeless assistance grants go out to the nonprofits that are on the front lines in our homeless outreach programs and are doing the real work of moving people from homelessness to housing every day. If those nonprofits were to even experience a glitch in payments, if what I'm experiencing right now with admin is a glitch, if they experience a glitch, they don't have the cash flow wherewithal to be able to sustain those programs while they're sorting through, is this permanent or is this temporary? What are the impacts of this? Because so many of these homeless service providers really, they know how to stretch a dime, shall we say. So I think the thing that's important to understand is that federal programs are complex because they have a lot of safeguards on them because they're scarce public resources. And in order to implement them with fidelity to regulation and statute, it requires a group of civil servants who understand the processes, understand the rules, and understand how to move these programs through these complex processes. And so if we lose the workforce that is either learning how to do it or is the workforce that knows how to do it because they've been there for a long time, I think that it will have the same effect of having cut the funding.
Senator Boldon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick follow-up. Thank you for that. That is very helpful. Just a follow-up question to be sure that I heard you correctly, because it was a little shocking to me. You mentioned that, so the Section 811 program, a program that you are, administering, interacting with the federal government with, have a business reason and a need to connect with them. Your person that you reach out to for that, you're getting a bounce back email, and you're having to now figure out, search for who to connect with to do work on that program. Is that right?
Commissioner?
Chair, Senator, that's correct.
Senator Boldon, any follow-up?
Thank you.
Members, other questions? Senator Pa?
Thank you, Chair Port. So under the previous Trump administration, there was a proposed rule prohibiting mixed-status families from residing in public housing and other subsidized housing. So this rule was never implemented, but was officially withdrawn by the Biden administration when they came aboard. So in January, President Trump issued a series of executive orders targeting immigration policies with a renewed emphasis on ensuring that undocumented immigrants do not receive federal benefits, which includes housing assistance. My concern is that Minnesotans where there is mixed status households and families, where at least one member is either undocumented or any member is undocumented, and these families have children, spouses who have legal status, they could face eviction or homelessness if that is the case, that they have one member that may be undocumented. So losing federal housing subsidies or forcing families out of public housing, that's my concern. Can you share if Minnesota has any state-funded housing programs that could address or help if a situation like that arises? And how can we fill in, or how can we still provide housing for the mixed status families if federal policies change?
Commissioner?
Chair Port and Senator Pa, I'm going to give you a partial answer, and then I'm going to get you a more robust answer once I have a chance to go back and confer with my team. We do fully expect that the proposed rule from the final month, I think, of the first Trump administration will be reproposed. As we were kind of just flagging things to expect, that's definitely on the list. And we had done an exercise back in when that rule was being developed around impacts, and I want to be able to refresh myself on that. I didn't do that before this hearing.
Okay. Senator Pa?
Thank you, Commissioner Ho. I appreciate that. And I look forward to further discussions about how we can protect Minnesotans and the people who live here, because that's important, especially families and children from being separated. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pa. Senator Draheim?
Thank you, Chair. Last time you were here, Commissioner, we had some questions for you, and I was just wondering if you had time to get a response for those questions that we had asked at the last committee.
Commissioner?
Chair Port, Senator Draheim, would you mind repeating the questions for me?
Senator Draheim?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. Last time we had asked about the 23 and 24 programs that made it across the finish line in Senator Port's bill, and just wondering what has been dispersed and what hasn't was the first question.
Commissioner?
Chair Port and Senator Draheim, I want to start by talking just about lexicon a little bit, just to make sure that we're using terms in the same way. Dispersed means dollars out the door. We have a lot of funds that are committed but not yet dispersed. So I just want to make sure that we understand that distinction.
Yep, and Chair, if I could, I am
Draheim.
talking about dispersed to the end user.
Commissioner?
Or
Chair and Senator, as of the week of February 3rd, the agency had dispersed nearly $269 million from the 2023 and 2024 resources. That's primarily from existing agency programs, where you put money in old line items and not from new programs.
Senator Drahan?
Thank you. And Commissioner, out of that, the 269 represents what percentage of the total that you were given that year? For that
Commissioner?
biennium?
Chair and Senator, I'm going to do some quick mental math here, because we've committed over 70%, which is 900 million. So if we, it's going to be some quick math, but probably like 20%?
Senator Drahan?
So the remaining 20% is left to be dispersed. Is that my interpretation of what you're saying?
Commissioner?
Chair, Senator, I maybe didn't state that clearly because I was trying to do some mental math here. The 269 has been dispersed. We've committed an additional 620 or 630 million, and then we have some funds yet that aren't committed that add up to something between $1 billion and 1.3, because I can't remember where we put the local aid that doesn't flow through us.
Senator Drahan?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. So we have close to $1 billion then that hasn't been pushed out the door from 23 and 24. And I guess, to me, what is the timeline of pushing out those resources? And we're looking at a unit shortage, and, to wait 2 years to get funding out to create more units is alarming to me. But just any timeline on the remainder of that funding, and then the interest on that, how is that housed? Where is that going? Is it going to the programs that were initially funded, or is it going into Pool 3? What happens with that?
Commissioner?
Chair Port, Senator Drahan, I'm going to take those as two very separate questions. So the first question is around the timing of disbursements. We are a construction finance company, and so we run proposals for competitive funds that you appropriate for us. And we actually do a remarkable job of, in the same calendar year as you make decisions about appropriations, we commit those funds to projects. But we don't disperse funds at the time that we commit funds to projects, because oftentimes the developer has brought a project to us that's in conceptual form. It isn't shovel-ready. And that's by design, because oftentimes you need to assemble funding from multiple sources, and each source is on its own timeline. And we try to make it easier on developers to say you don't have to have expended everything you're going to have to expend in order to build the project before you even know if you have financing. So it is very typical for us to have funds committed that aren't dispersed, because the vast majority of the construction and new construction and preservation projects have built into them just the leg that is organizing funding between idea, proposal, commitment, closing on financing, shovel in the ground to opening. And then our disbursements happen throughout the course of the build. So you do a construction draw from us, you don't get the whole amount of funds on the day you close financing. You draw down financing as you show progress towards the construction, with architects from our team oftentimes going out to do inspections on construction and things like that. So the lag between appropriated and committed is actually very small, where we've run the money through existing programs, and the lag between commitment and disbursement is actually usual, because we do construction financing that is timed to the timeline of getting a deal to financial closure, shovel in the ground, and completely constructed. Could you repeat the second question, sir?
Senator Drahan?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. It was just about the interest, what happens with the interest on the undispersed $1 billion.
Commissioner?
Chair and Senator Draheim, first of all, I want to say that we have statutory authority and always have for the ability to use the aggregated earnings prior to disbursements to be able to offset the expenses related to the operation of programs. It's something that we historically haven't talked about because you've given us small appropriations in low interest rate environments. And so what's happened differently in this last 2-year period of time is that our appropriations increased by like 1,000% at a time where the interest rates increased to a higher amount. But you're also asking us to implement a lot of new programs and a lot of legislatively named grantees. These are activities that have, before the first check is cut, while the grant is operating, and after the grant is done operating, life cycle in terms of oversight by the agency. So we're anticipating for the new programs that are just funded with one-time funding, we actually have a staff obligation that could be 7 or more years. And then we have the expense of the ongoing programs, the affordable housing aid and the bring it home rental assistance. I think it's also important to remember that in 2020, July 5th of 2023, or whatever date it was that the first appropriated money for the first year of the biennium landed in our account, that was the maximum amount of cash that we were going to have in hand from the appropriations at the highest interest rate. And over the course of the 7 years that we're running the program, as more and more of that cash is dispersed, and who knows what's going to happen to interest rates, our ability to earn interest to offset the actual admin costs of the programs will decrease, even though the need to continue the oversight of the programs will continue for an unknown period of time, as many as 7-8 years. And so even though this is an anomaly, it's in line with what it is that we've historically done. Just to give you some context, if I can put my finger on it.
Commissioner and Chair, if I could, if we look at the slide 14, you have on there that our ratio of operating expense to assistance provided was 2.45. So, your operating cost, I assume then, would be real close to 2.5%. Is that a fair assumption?
Commissioner?
Chair, Senator, yes.
Okay, and, during
Senator
that
Graham?
time frame, my CDs were getting around 5%. So I think there is ample money in there for the agency to operate, no matter where we're at. I was just curious, like I said last time you were here a couple of weeks ago, I don't mind that you're making money off of the investments to reinvest in housing. I just want to know where it goes and what it's used for. And I think that's part of our responsibility is to be in the know. So that's all I'm asking. That's all I asked a few weeks ago when you were here, when we were talking about the liquidity issue. So my confusion is that we have 20% of a record number of resources that were given to your agency, and only 20% got out the door. But yet, you said you had a liquidity issue. And I'm just really pondered by that. And I talked to our fine fiscal staff, and they did their magic with the numbers. And there's some baseline tests that I guess the government industry uses to check on liquidity, and they were all fine. You passed with flying colors. So have you thought about the liquidity statement that you made to me and to some nonprofits on why their program didn't get pushed out the door? And, I'm just, help me understand why we're in this position when you got, by my math, at least $1 billion more than you normally get as an agency, which is a blessing, but obviously it seems like a curse too. So if we could just get to the bottom of why there was a liquidity issue from bills that were passed in '23.
Commissioner?
Chair
Thank
Port and Senator Draheim, I think there's confusion on a couple fronts here, so let me see if I can dissect this a little bit. I think what we're talking about is the relationship we have with North Country Cooperative Foundation and the manufactured home park acquisition work that they're engaged in.
Amongst others, yes.
This is where the liquidity conversation, Chair and Senator, has come up the most recently, so I want to use this as an example, if I may. We have agency resources over here where we operate the state's housing bank, and then we have the appropriated resources from you and the federal government that we operate as appropriated programs. We don't have a liquidity problem in our appropriated programs, and we will implement as required across all of the appropriated programs. And we've executed the contract with North Country Cooperative Foundation for their acquisition fund. We had also been doing, for the last couple of years, lending from the bank to assist in the acquisition of manufactured home park cooperatives. But that was not from appropriated funds, that was from the bank side of the finance agency. And we are no longer able to do that because of the liquidity problems that are the result of a lot of lending and putting money to use on the bank side at a period of time when market conditions have changed so that our prepayment speed has slowed on our mortgage production while our mortgage production has continued to go up. So what's happening is that the bank is doing down payment assistance loans and other loans across our housing portfolio and putting money out at a faster pace than we're getting prepaid. That is a shift from when interest rates were very low and people who bought homes from us were refinancing or buying a new home on a regular cycle. So the liquidity issue isn't a sign of problems. It's just a sign that the volume of putting our money to work and market conditions have just forced us to adjust how we think about the volume of what we're doing on the bank side, and it has nothing to do with our ability to work on the appropriated programs. The contract with North Country Cooperative Foundation is executed, and they have access to the funds that you've appropriated for that purpose. They don't have separate access to lending tools that we had been able to do when we were more liquid to also help in the acquisition of manufactured home communities.
Senator Draheim?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that explanation. You know, I know it's been a couple weeks, but, you know, I think it was $10 million that they were, I think there was 3 different programs that were all about $10 million that we appropriated. And that was my concern, is that, you know, you're looking at almost a $2 billion all funds budget, and $30 million shouldn't be much. And, you know, especially if you have a billion of it in the bank making interest, you know, why it takes 2 years almost to get the funds out the door, I guess was my main concern. Because this is a team effort, and I'm not trying to belittle the agency. I think you guys do good work, important work, and I know we threw a lot at you, but there's a lot at stake, and that's my frustration. You know, we sat here for 20 minutes talking about what's happening in the federal government, and you not being able to get a hold of someone. I asked you these questions a couple weeks ago, and I don't see anything in this presentation, and you know, it's frustrating because we've all worked in this committee. We've all worked on some of these issues. They're bipartisan issues, so it's not a partisan thing. We're trying to solve a problem, and I feel the agency isn't very reactive to the bipartisan work that our body has done. And, you know, when I hear from constituents and nonprofits that funding isn't going out the door for programs that we worked hard on as a group, and they weren't all mine. You know, I don't have my fingertips on all of them, but I'm still passionate about it. And I think, you know, the agency can up their game a little bit about communicating with us. We're supposed to be working together to try to further the housing here in Minnesota. We put a lot of money, Centerport went to bat for your agency to get a lot of funds. Not that I agreed with all of it, and Centerport knows that. But whatever we decide to do, we should all work together to make sure it works. And that's my frustration. So it's nothing personal with you or your agency. It's just my frustration on all the resources we put in, and especially that manufactured home area. You know, we tried to set up a new financing program for that. Of course, the co-op ownership issue. And then I think the third one was the infrastructure program that hadn't got up and running. And, you know, people are screaming for housing, affordable housing. And it's frustrating that we can't get something out the door in a year. You know, I know it takes time. I get that. And I understand there's follow-up. And I'm glad that you have checks and balances in place to make sure the money is being used wisely. But we got to figure out, either we need to draft the language different, or we need to communicate better with you on how do we get things in a more timely fashion, I guess is my frustration, Chair. But I know you're limited on time. I have a lot of other questions. But I think the only other one I think we need to dive into that I haven't heard anything about this year is the sales tax that we put on. It'd be nice to get an update on that. I don't know if that's appropriate now. The 0.25% we put on the metro area, you know, how much money's been raised, what has it been used for, has any of it been distributed? Is that appropriate to ask, Chair?
Yes, I'm not sure how much the commissioner will know about that, but
In my understanding, if I remember right, there's a percentage that goes to the housing agency. And if we could just get an update, or maybe fiscal staff, put them on the spot.
Commissioner, do you want to jump in?
Chairport and Senator Draheim, I'll tell you what I can, and happy to bring back information. I also could talk for hours about liquidity and disbursements and why there's a lag between commitments and disbursements, if folks want to talk about that more. So the sales tax specifically is collected by the Met Council, not by us, and then it's formula allocated between the jurisdictions and Bring It Home rental assistance. We are in the final stages of getting ready to allocate the Bring It Home rental assistance money, and the local jurisdictions already have and are allocating their local affordable housing aid. So that was something where our role is really after the fact oversight, and we did a lot of work up front on frequently asked questions because we know that no local jurisdiction wanted oversight they didn't want to implement when they didn't have some view into what oversight was going to look like. So we've done a lot of work, and I'm just talking about the metro area because we're talking about the sales tax and this insurance. We've done a lot of work, and already we've seen some of the local jurisdictions select projects for their funding. Again, the Bring It Home rental assistance, had a lot of conversations statewide with the public housing authorities and housing redevelopment authorities and tribes that are eligible for that assistance in order to anticipate what does it look like to build a infrastructure that parallels HUD's housing choice vouchers and the NAHASDA, Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act funding that tribes get. Because even though it can look like existing housing choice vouchers, that all has IT systems and finance mechanisms that flow through HUD. And so we have to figure out how it is that we interact. And so we have run an intent to apply, and the RFP for Bring It Home launched on just this week on February 18th, with applications due on March 21st.
Senator Draheim.
Eric, do you have numbers on?
Mr. Olafson.
Madam Chair, Senator Draheim, for the amounts that are transferred from this Metro-wide sales tax, specifically for the Metro-wide Bring It Home Rental Assistance Program, in fiscal year 24, and these are based off estimated forecasts from MMB, for fiscal year 24, it was $26.6 million to Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. In fiscal year 2025, it's estimated to be $41.9 million. In fiscal year 26, the transfer is estimated to be $43.5 million. In fiscal year 27, $45.1 million. And then combined for 28, 29, it's $95.1 million approximately. So.
And Mr. Olafson, do you have access to what the municipalities were allocated, just as like a whole?
Madam Chair, the overall revenue from the Metro-wide sales tax is posted, or the estimated revenue, it's posted on the consolidated fund statement that MMB produces. So the total revenue, this includes the transfer to Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. But for 24-25, it's $274.1 million. In 26-27, it's $354.3 million. And for 28-29 biennium, it's $380.2 million.
Thank you, Mr. Olafson. And my understanding, Senator Draheim, is that has been,
Right on.
it's out into the communities.
Perfect. Thank you. I
Yeah.
just was curious. Thank you. And then the last question, if I could, Chair, and
Absolutely.
I promise the last question. The first-time homebuyer fee-based home purchase financing program, that $10 million, has that been awarded?
Commissioner.
Chairport, Senator Draheim, the contract was signed on October 30th.
Thank you. Other questions? I have a few more too, and sure. I'm going to take you back to one more federal piece. There is a program called the Green and Resilient Retrofit Program that in Congress's proposed budget has been targeted for outright cancellation. And HUD staffer was quoted in NPR with direct knowledge that they said that they've been informed that the Trump administration is terminating that program. It's awarded more than $1 billion to private companies to help them upgrade apartment buildings for HUD subsidized tenants, making them more energy efficient and replacing lead pipes, is my understanding. I believe those are some of the buildings that you were talking about before that are the low income, perhaps house our tenants with disabilities, and help sort of make those slightly better cash flow. I know great cash flow is not probably in the cards, but can you speak about the impact of that program?
Chairport, I don't have the details in front of me, but I do remember looking when HUD made the awards, and there are a number of, I think, largely for-profit multifamily property owners that were successful in getting funding commitments from those programs, and my guess is that HUD had not been able to disperse the funds yet. And so, I mean, what it means is that buildings that are oftentimes, 40 years old, don't have energy efficient heating and cooling systems, windows, they're just dated, won't get the opportunity to get kind of an energy efficient, envelope rehab that would make them not only more comfortable for their residents, but also more efficient for the property owners to manage.
Thank you. Senator Abler.
I really only have a couple topics I'm just keep asking about, and eventually I'll figure it out. So I appreciate all this discussion. A lot of it's still over my head, but thank you. So just, I had no idea when I met Ms. Law when I asked my question, and she was sitting there next to you, Madam Chair, and I was setting you up for the softball question of your career about nonprofit developers. And As we're trying to make the money go further, is there something that I could read that you have that compares what it costs to build a place and then what it costs to get all these wonderful people assembled to help build the place? I asked before, so I'm just trying to make, especially as money becomes leaner and the commitment of this committee to get as many units constructed for the most people is pretty clear. So I just mentioned the Ramsey project that cost $222,000 for poisonous air, off-gassing formaldehyde, and then a relatively luxurious place across the sandy pasture of what was across Ramsey. There was $157,000 just privately done. So I guess I don't know how to answer the question, but it seems like the more fingers that touch the money, the more somebody has to get their little piece. So that's the question. Why do we have to spend all that? But also, if the pipeline, person at the end of that pipeline is a nonprofit versus a for-profit company, does that matter? And it seems as though if indeed, maybe the value of what they built couldn't have cost $222,000, but if it cost really $157,000 to build the nasty one, can't we find a way to, we need to oversee and all that and pay your people, and I certainly want to pay the two of you well, but there must be a way to make the money go a little further if we just decided that was a value to us. Does that make sense? Is that a coherent question?
Commissioner?
Chairport, Senator Abler, this is the way that I think that I would break the question down, is who's building it, for whom, with what sources of capital financing? And in our experience, you know, the private market builds the vast majority of housing in Minnesota. It isn't funding that is government assisted. And so for the two properties that you refer to in your district, you know, I would need to understand if we had a role to play in those or if they were simply private market constructions. If it's simply private market construction, then it's the difference between somebody who decides to build a modest 1,200 square foot house and somebody who decides to build a luxurious 3,000 square foot house. And then it's going to be influenced by other things like where was it built? What kind of land was it built on? You know, the size of the lot and other things. So there's a lot that would take for me to break it down. But I can talk about where we're involved in the financing. And where we're involved in the financing, the largest driver of per unit cost is probably just number of bedrooms. Is it a efficiency or is it a 3 or 4 bedroom home that's housing a larger family? And then is the developer intentionally trying to make a unit affordable to somebody who is lower on the income scale? Because the more that they're trying to make it affordable, the more that you're trying to make sure that the monthly cash flow of the building pencils out to be able to hold rents at a certain level. So there's the development cost, which has a lot to do with the configuration, the developer, the flavors of money. And then there's what are you trying to do in terms of affordability? And those both play into things. What I will tell you is that the agency for a long time has kept a predictive cost model where we use information about everything that we've invested in by whether it's new construction or preservation, by bedroom size, by configuration. Is it a 3-story elevator building? Is it a townhome? You know, what is it? So that when a new proposal comes in, we can take a look at its proposed cost relative to a group of other things that have been built that have similar characteristics. And we have a threshold at the agency that if something is a certain level above the predictive cost model, not only do our architects go in there to see if they can work with the developer to what we call value engineer the price per unit down, but we also bring it to our board of directors to get approval for a waiver of the predictive cost model, so that our board has line of sight into developments that cost more than others. You know, from my experience in those conversations over the course of the last 6 years, I mean, oftentimes a project that costs more has both external factors and internal factors that make it so. So are you doing community space because you're doing a supportive housing development and you're trying to provide on-site services, for example? That's going to kind of up the spread cost that isn't, you know, that's borne by the units in a per unit cost. It could be that the developer had to work with land that required some type of land remediation or infrastructure work in order before they even got the shovel in the ground for the construction piece. So there's a lot of factors that drive it, but obviously cost, especially in this environment where everything seems to cost more, is something that we're paying very close attention. That's why I have architects on my staff that can work with a developer to think about whether or not there are ways that we can lower the cost per unit by doing some modifications in architectural design.
Senator Abler?
Well, thanks, and maybe I'll have Dan help me sort through this a little bit offline, but I mean, a lot of the variables you mentioned just didn't exist. They're both 2 bedrooms. The one company must have got a bulk shipment from a vinyl factory, and just, you know, it was tacky, and it cost 50% more. And I know there must have been some piece of somebody like you all helping finance, because they had a list of this many people that were just so happy to help compared to the one person. So I don't know, maybe we're on the right track, maybe we're not. But if I figure out, Madam Chair, it just, the more middle people you get in the middle, the more that we help finance, you know, their staff and their profitability and all that. And I don't care if people making profits, but the company that built the $157,000 one was a for-profit company. But I have to think, if we're trying to keep rents affordable, if it costs 50% more on the front end, it's not going to be easy to keep the cost down. So anyway, I appreciate that, and I will get this committee sorted out yet. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Boldon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. My question is about homelessness. A recent HUD report showed a nearly 10% increase in homelessness in Minnesota from 2023, so just in the last couple of years. And I believe the fastest growing segment of homelessness is occurring in seniors or older Minnesotans. So could you just give a brief, I'm watching time, brief update on FHPAP funding? And then I'm wondering, to what extent does federal funding support homelessness prevention here in Minnesota?
Commissioner?
Thank you, Chair and Senator Boldon. I just want to clarify, because I think sometimes people hear the math. So by percentages, the fastest growing segment was older adults, not by the numbers, but by percentages. So I just want to make sure but it's still alarming. I think the fastest growing by the numbers in the last point in time count was families and people who are living outside, which is also very distressing. The Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program benefited from very large one-time additions over base in 2023, with an extra addition in 2024. So all of the funds have been committed as of August 2024. And then we also had some tribal allocation, and we've been working with the tribes because that was new for them in some instances. I think what we're going to see as we move into the next biennium and a return to base funding is that it's going to have the effect of a cliff, because not only was there large infusions of family homeless prevention by the legislature, but we also had the federal COVID-19 emergency rental assistance money, which is also now all spent. So it was kind of like there were, 2 waves of help that came in, and it's all gone as we look out past, those funds being available. So that's, I think, going to be felt. Prior to the large infusions, there was a lot of kind of decision-making that the organizations who administer the funds needed to make about who they make them available for and who they need to say no to. The HUD, 2 main HUD streams are the HUD homeless assistance grants that flow through 10 regional planning bodies called continuums of care that make decisions every year about how they prioritize funds across the nonprofits and I think largely nonprofits that administer them. And, you know, I think a lot of that funding has just, you know, tried to keep up with cost inflation. Every now and then, there's the opportunity to maybe do a new project in a continuum, but that's not a guarantee. A lot of that is for the creation of supportive housing. You know, the evidence-based practice that helps people, even with the longest histories of homelessness, you know, succeed in stable housing. But it also funds things, you know, there's funding available through the Emergency Solutions Grant that's administered by the Department of Human Services. A lot of that money goes into shelter operations around the state. And then there's other unique line items that are over at the Department of Human Services, like money that comes from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the PATH program that pays for people to do outreach. So there's just, I think, a lot of different fronts. The largest funders of federal assistance are HUD, Health and Human Services, and the VA. And then the contributions of other agencies are much smaller than that. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the federal programs, but what I do know is that our federal emergency rental assistance program is finished, and we return to base in the family homeless prevention, and that is going to feel like a cut in communities and a cut for families who desperately need the help.
All right, we've made it through our list of questions for now. We've got about 10 minutes left. Commissioner, do you want to power through the rest of your slides here?
Chair Port, I would love to, because that means you won't have to bring me back to finish my slide deck. I just wanted to do an update where we have RFPs that are open now from things that we were talking about relative to largely to 2023, and RFPs that we have opening soon, just so that you can see the things where, you know, I was talking, I think it was to Senator Housley, that, you know, the programs that we implemented first felt fast because we did them first, and the programs that we're getting to last feel slowest because we're doing them last. It's kind of an inherent part of having to triage where things were going to be in terms of how they moved through the agency. But it's good to see, you know, that these are all in progress. For programs that we're busy doing, you know, a lot of the new programs are going to be oversubscribed from day one. So if you take a look at the intent to apply that we did with the Local Housing Trust Fund grant program, we had 66 responses for over $12 million. We have $5.8 million available. If you take a look at the statewide affordable housing aid Tier 2 cities program, we have an intent to apply that's open right now. We already have 26 requests for $5 million. There's $4.5 million available. I suspect that by the time we're done with the intent to apply, you know, that number will have doubled. With the Bring It Home rental assistance, we've got 5,000 households that we estimate can be served from that program. We've had 50 responses from grantees that have asked for more than what their estimated formula allocation would be in that program. And they tell us that they have over 25,000 households that are on local wait lists for housing choice vouchers today. So you can see that even if the 5,000 vouchers just went to help with existing wait lists, we'd still have wait lists that are over 20,000 households big. Do I have any more slides, Dan? Oh, yes, agency reports, my favorite. We did update the report that we brought to you when we first came so that the new edition is out, and we'll have it to you in paper as soon as we have it printed. But again, this is a comprehensive report of everything that we do and who we serve and the number of units that are produced and preserved and a lot more. If you're just dying to look at it now, you can scan the QR code. Just the highlights, for our work on homeownership, the median homeowner income is almost $90,000. The median home buyer income is about $77,000, and the median renter income, not including our administration of HUD project-based Section 8, is under $15,000. We saw a 112% increase in our home mortgage lending in 2014, which served 14,000 households with incomes that are typically less than $12,500 in general, not in the lending program. 48% of our competitive funds went to Greater Minnesota and 52% to the metro area. And in total, applicants requested about $1.6 billion in state and federal resources through our RFPs, which was much more than we had available to give. We have also sent up an operating cost report. I think this is what Senator Draheim was referencing. Our operating costs have gone up as we've added staff to administer all the new state programs. The total assistance that was provided in 2024 was almost $2 billion, and so the ratio of operating expense to assistance provided was 2.45%. I, as always, send all the hard questions to Dan Kitzberger, and be happy to take whatever other questions you might have for me today.
Members, any other questions? Okay. Commissioner, thank you for spending some time with us again. We look forward to hearing excellent news that you will receive your federal funding. And if not, then we can figure out how to have a conversation about that again. Senator Draheim, I share your concern about particularly production money moving faster. And I think over the next month, as we start to have conversations about the barriers to affordable housing and multifamily housing getting built, hopefully we can remove some of those barriers this year and shrink that time down a little bit. Later this week, on Thursday, we will focus on Greater Minnesota housing infrastructure and the challenges that Greater Minnesota developers and communities face in building housing. And with that, we are at the end of our agenda today, and this meeting is adjourned.